Hello everyone, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, did you try solving yesterday's example via single linkage or average linkage?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Ma'am, the dendrograms were a bit different for each and every method.
correct. So, every linkage method would lead to a slightly different outcome. Okay. Every linkage method may not result in same clusters. Okay. You would get different clusters by different linkage methods because the principle is different. So in single linkage, you are considering two groups to be close to each other. Even if the smallest distance is close, means even if the other distances are large. Okay. As a result, in single linkage method, sometimes even relatively dissimilar groups or dissimilar objects might get clustered together, okay, because of what is known as chaining effect or chain effect. Let me try to explain with a diagram. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so suppose I have this is say group 1, this is group 2, and this is group 3, and let us assume that we have bivariate data. So actually the observations that we have are denoted by whatever positions they are. Okay, so these positions are actually suppose the positions of observations. Okay, now see, it may happen that when you go for single linkage method, distance between group 1 and group 3 would be this distance, right? The smallest distance. So in reality, this particular observation is quite away from group 1, but because you know you are clubbing group 1 and group 3 on the basis of the smallest distance, this gets clubbed with this which is pretty far, or even this which is pretty far. Okay, so as a result, single linkage method produces what is known as chain effect, where you join objects which are closer to each other, but the two ends of the chain might be very dissimilar. Okay, because that's what I'm trying to say here. So you connect group 1 and group 3. Suppose you had another group 4 sitting over here. So here also you have say something like this. So now this distance looks small, so you join these two. So as a result, now finally group 1 and group 4 are joined. But if we take extreme objects from these two groups, okay, so for example this and this, then they might be pretty dissimilar because they are quite away from each other, but they got joined because some members of those groups were close to each other. So this is known as chain effect. So in fact, this is one of the disadvantages or cons of single linkage method. On the other hand, in complete linkage, you focus only on the largest distance. So as a result, suppose you have these two groups, say group 1 and group 2, and if you have all the other observations like this, still, even if these distances are small, you may end up saying that these two groups are far away from each other because of these two points which are increasing the distance in complete linkage. Okay, hence single linkage, complete linkage have their own problems. So people started thinking what could possibly measure the heterogeneity or homogeneity of a cluster, and hence came the concept of error sum of squares. So we are going to see a linkage method called as Ward's linkage method, which deals with this error sum of squares. Okay. In cluster analysis, what would possibly be error sum of squares? It has to do something with the joining, that is true, but then joining distance is distance. I wouldn't need to square that. So what else could be error sum of squares? And I'm talking of continuous observations only, not categorical observations.
Ma'am, it could be the difference between each observation and the mean of the cluster itself.
Correct, correct. Okay. So that's what we are going to see today. So in Ward's linkage, we try to minimize this. Whatever clusters are formed, we compute something called as within cluster error sum of square, and we try to minimize that. Where have you used similar principle earlier? Have you used something similar, like within error, between error, within cluster error, or within group error?
I mean ANOVA.
Correct. So in ANOVA you have already used this type of thing. Okay, so let me share my screen now. I hope the problems are resolved by now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we are going to go for Ward's linkage. So let me start with some example. We will see this via example, and then we will see the actual theoretical procedure. Okay, so let us try some bivariate observations only, so that for us computations would be easier. So suppose I have two variables x1, x2, and I have O1, O2, O3, O4, O5. Let me take very small values. Suppose this is 1 0, this is 0 0, this is 0 1, this is 2 0, and this is suppose minus 1 0. Okay, suppose these are the 5 observations that I have, and I want to carry out agglomerative clustering on these 5 observations via Ward's linkage. Okay, so as I said, Ward's linkage method tells us that we should minimize the error sum of squares. Okay, what sort of error sum of squares? It would be within cluster error sum of squares. Okay, within cluster error sum of squares. Okay, now how do I compute this? So what I'll do is, at the first step, I want to create clusters in such a way that, okay, before that, one basic question. Right now I have 5 clusters, correct? Agglomerative method says that initially your number of clusters is same as number of observations. So right now I have 5 clusters. Now from 5 clusters I am trying to go to 4 clusters. So within cluster error sum of squares, in fact we can call it total within cluster error sum of squares, because right now I have 5 clusters, so C1, C2, C5. I can compute error sum of squares for each cluster and then add those to get total within cluster error sum of squares. Okay, so first question, when I decrease the number of clusters, means when I join objects together, does error sum of squares, this total within cluster error sum of squares, does it increase or decrease?
I mean, should increase.
Others are also allowed to talk, by the way, it's not just one person. Should it increase or would it increase or decrease? Yes, anyone?
I think it should be increased.
Okay, so why? Both of you answered that it should be increasing. Why would it increase?
Ma'am, an observation is increased, so the distance from the mean to this observation will be included in the within sum of square.
What do you mean by
So it will
observation is
naturally increase.
increased? Wait. What do you mean by observation is increased?
Ma'am, before in the first cluster we had only one observation, and
Number
now
of
in the new
observations is
cluster,
increased.
yes,
You have to be specific.
number of observations will increase. So
Okay.
the within sum of square should also increase in that case.
Okay. Some suppose if I can't see it, can you please explain it further? Why increase in the number of observations would increase? Why increase in the number of observations within a group would increase the error sum of squares for that group? You are right. You are perfectly right. But can you explain it further? Because I may not be smart enough to understand it with just one line. I might need more explanation.
Yes, ma'am. As we increase the number of observations in a single cluster, what happens is the distances keep on changing from the mean, and hence the error sum of squares will keep on increasing with increase of each and every observation in our cluster.
Distances keep on changing. You are not saying distances increase. Then why error sum of squares should increase? I can say it also changes.
Ma'am, but error sum of squares, it's squared, right? So it would be a positive value or zero in that case. So it should be in increasing function only.
No,
It
I am
cannot
still
go in
not. See,
negative value.
I am dumb. To me, it is still not clear.
Okay, ma'am. Error sum of squares are always a positive value since they are
Okay.
squared of values. So
Okay.
whenever you go for the summation, it will always increase the value of total error sum of squares. It would never decrease.
But see, you are saying that the distances will change. So, might be adding a new observation might decrease some of the distances.
Yes, ma'am. It would decrease some of the distances,
Then
but the
in
error
that,
would
no, no,
still
no.
remain
See,
positive.
no, it would remain positive. I am not saying error would become negative. But then square of a smaller number would be smaller than what it was earlier. If suppose earlier
Yes,
distance from the mean was, let's say, 5, so the error was 25 for that particular observation. Now after adding a new thing, suppose this distance got reduced to 3, then the error would become 9 from 25. For this particular observation, error would become 9.
yes, ma'am. But it's for the single observation. Like the
Yes.
total within cluster will increase in that
Why?
case
I can't
also,
see it. Nah, I am
because
dumb. You
both
for
the
you
errors
see
will
see see
be
for you
added
it
up.
is trivial, but you need to explain it in such a way that
Yes, ma'am.
it is clear to everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Consider it this way, right? We have x1 observation and x2 observation in a cluster, in a single cluster, and the mean of these is x bar. So now what we are doing is we are considering xi minus x bar whole square as the error sum of squares for one ith observation.
Correct?
So we'll have these two error sum of squares, and the total within cluster error sum of squares will be summation of these two values.
Correct?
So whenever we increase one more observation, it would be x3 minus x bar whole square. So the summation will keep on increasing.
Not necessarily.
Total
That's
within
one.
cluster
No, no,
will
no, no,
increase.
no. See, it is still not 100% clear. See, you are adding a third term. I agree to that. I agree that it is going to increase, but it is still not clear to me because, see, x1 minus x bar square is not going to remain the same. That's the point I am trying to emphasize. When you add a third observation, you are going to change the mean. Getting it?
Yes, ma'am, got it.
So x1 minus x bar square will also change in value, x2 minus x bar square will also change in value, and x3 minus x bar square will be a positive number which would get added. But why are you so sure that x1 minus x bar square and x2 minus x bar square would be always larger? Because they may decrease, and it might happen that x3 minus x bar square would not compensate for that decrease. It would add something but may not be to compensate, and still I get a smaller error sum of squares. Why would that not happen? What is the guarantee? Is my question clear?
Yes, ma'am.
See, this is x1, this is x2. So initially you are saying this is mean. So you are computing distances between this and this. But when you add x3, so far your logic is, I mean, at least what I have understood from your logic is x1 minus x bar square and x2 minus x bar square. This is your earlier thing, and then you add, so x2 minus x bar square plus x3 minus x bar square. So what I have understood is you are trying to say that because this term is greater than or equal to 0, this would be always larger than this. But you are assuming that these remain unchanged, which is not the case. These are also going to get changed because your mean is going to get revised. So you are going to have to talk with the revised mean. So what is the guarantee that this is still larger? Others, are you following what is happening, or you feel that I am just wasting my time? Wasting your time, sorry, not my time, wasting your time.
Since we are combining similar items, so it might possible that because of this similarity, our this square should be reduced.
Ma'am, in this revised mean case, what we are doing is we are including a new observation which is apart from this cluster, right? So it would have a distance more than this cluster itself when we add it to this cluster. So if I go by this method of the method that we are following, hierarchical, so x3 when included in this cluster would already be far apart from this x bar. And in that case, the even if the mean is changed or x bar is revised, it would be greater than x bar, our previous x bar.
I won't say greater because you are in the multivariate setup. So you can't say greater or less.
But,
you can't say one mean is greater than other in multivariate setup.
Yes.
You are right.
Yes,
just make it slightly more.
Correct.
So the error is greater. Okay. So see, now you are thinking more clearly. See, first thing you have to remember is your mean is going to get changed. So you can't simply say that because I am adding third term as positive, everything is positive, like larger. That's not the case. Mean is changing. But because these guys were initially together, so x1, x2 were anyway together, so they are supposed to have some small distance between them, whereas x3 is having comparatively a larger distance. So when you add x3, the new mean is going to get slightly pulled towards x3, correct? Original mean was maybe near x1 and x2. If x3 is here, this mean would shift slightly at least. So these distances are also likely to increase, and plus you are adding this third error. Okay, so it is like when you have, say, two people, suppose you want to plan a party with, say, two people, only two guests, so you and two more guests, and you want to decide your menu based on the choices of these guests. So when there are only two people, they are more likely to agree with each other, right? Instead, if you go to now 4 or 5 people, it is going to get further and further difficult to agree on one single item, one single food item which everyone would like, or at least to which everyone would be agreeable. Okay, they may not love it, but they don't mind eating it. So as you increase the number of people, the heterogeneity goes on increasing. Okay, so finding a common food item which is acceptable to all becomes more and more difficult. And this is something similar we are trying here. So we are trying to compute error from the cluster mean. So when you have less number of observations, cluster mean is going to be closer to them. Okay, so it is kind of their representation. But yeah, as you add more and more observations to that cluster, the cluster mean is going to get away, it's going to stay away from almost all of them, and hence error is going to increase because everyone has to compromise. So no one will get the most favorite cuisine. Okay, so as you generally decrease the number of clusters, you put on more and more observations together, so the heterogeneity or within cluster sum of squares generally increases. Okay, so what does the Ward's method say? The Ward's linkage method says that in such a case you should try to choose that combination which leads to the smallest increase in error sum of squares. Okay, so Ward's method says create clusters in such a way as to get the smallest possible increase in the error sum of squares. Okay, smallest possible increase in the error sum of squares. Is it clear what I am trying to say? Create clusters in such a way as to get the smallest possible increase in the error sum of squares. By error sum of squares, I again mean within cluster sum of squares. So let us try to solve this example that we had. So these are the 5 observations. I want to create 4 clusters, so I am going to join at least 2 of them. Okay, in fact other possibilities are also there. So maybe let me first start with only 3 observations, okay, because calculations are soon going to go out of hand. Okay, so which 3 should I take? So let me take 1 0 0 0 and 2 0. Okay, so O1 O2 O3, suppose x1 x2. So 1 0 0 0 2 0. Okay, now what are the possible clusters? If from these 3 observations I want to get 2 clusters instead of 3, right now 3 observations, so 3 clusters. So if I want to get 2 clusters, what are the possibilities? x1 x2 in one cluster and x3 separate is one possibility. Another possibility is x1 x3 together and x2 separate, and third possibility is x2 x3 together and x1 separate. Is it okay? There are only 3 possibilities of clustering these 3 observations into 2 clusters. Now Ward's linkage method says compute total within cluster sum of squares for each of these configuration, and then choose that configuration for which the change in the within cluster sum of squares is the smallest. Okay, so let us try. Now at the initial stage, at step 0, every observation is in its I am making a mistake and nobody is stopping me. Did you realize what mistake I made? Is anyone listening to me?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the mistake? I have to write O1 O2 here. I can't write.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
They are variables, na? So O1 O3 and O2, and then O2 O3 and O1. Okay, I have to cluster observations. By the way, yeah, there is another algorithm which can be used for clustering of variables, but it is not part of our syllabus. We will be looking only at clustering of observations. Okay, yes, so initially I have every observation as a separate cluster. Please try to stay awake. I know it is difficult when you can't see me, but try to stay awake as much as possible for your own benefit. Of course, if you feel that you are not learning anything, then you can log off. You don't even have to stay in the meeting. Anyway, many of your friends are actually using that option. I have never seen the attendance touching 30. That's very rare. I mean, in offline classes that happened very rarely. Okay, anyway, so yes, so initially I have every observation as a separate cluster. So currently with this configuration, there is no error because there is only one observation in each cluster. Cluster mean is that observation itself. So total within cluster sum of squares is 0 for this configuration. And now we have to check for each of these configurations. So say first, second and third, and see for which configuration it is lowest. So if I put O1 and O2 together, what would be the mean for cluster 1? What would be the mean for cluster 1 if O1 and O2 are in cluster 1?
And would it be 0.5 comma 0?
Is it Prathamesh again?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to now stop talking. I'm sorry, but I need others to be awake and talking.
Yes, ma'am.
Not even Pushkar. Okay, Pushkar has also talked today. So okay, so for this cluster he has told me the mean is 0.5 and 0. So C1 bar for this configuration is 0.5 comma 0. Okay, so now someone should tell me what is x1 minus, sorry, what is O1 minus C1 bar square plus O2 minus C. Okay, so Shivani, what was the answer? O1 minus C1 bar square? You had told something. 0.25. Okay. Similarly, O2 minus C1 bar square will be 0.25. So the total will be 0.5. And for C2 again I have only one observation, so the mean will be same and so the error will be 0. So total within cluster sum of squares would be 0.5 in first configuration. In second configuration I have O1 and O3. So O1 and O3 means mean would be 1.5 comma 0. Okay, so O1 minus C1 bar square plus O2 minus C1 bar square. So this would become again 0.25 I think plus 0.25. So this is again 0.5. And in the third configuration I have to put O2 O3 together. So O2 O3 means 0 2 0 0. So mean would be 1 0. So in the third configuration mean would be 1 0 and error would be 1 square plus 1 square. So basically 2. Okay. So Watt's linkage method will tell me that I should either go for this configuration or this configuration because total within sum of squares is smaller for these two compared to the third one. Now had it not been a tie, of course we would have got a single clear cut answer, but because this is a tie, we have a choice. We can either use first configuration or we can use second configuration. Is it clear how Watt's method is working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when I have let's say when I have 4 observations, then we have to consider many possibilities. So suppose I have 4 observations, O1, O2, O3, O4. Okay, then one possibility is O1, O2 in one group, O3 in other group, O4 in other group. This is one possibility. Then O1, O3, O2, O4. This is another possibility. Then O1, O4, O2, O3. This is one more possibility. Then O2, O3, O1, O4. This is another possibility. Then O2, O4, O1 and O3. This is one more possibility. And last possibility is O3, O4, O1, O2. Okay, so your homework is take the first 4 observations from there and first 4 observations from the list that we have seen, and under all these 6 possible configuration compute the error sum of squares, see which one is the lowest. Then in the next step you will have to combine these 3 into 2. So you might have something like say in the next step there will be multiple possibilities, 3 observations in one class and then one single, or say 2 in one class, 2 in other class. Got it? So homework is try to solve this example with 4 observations manually via Ward's linkage method. Okay, is it okay?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I had a doubt with this.
Hmm?
What we are doing is we are identifying all the possible outcomes, and then we are calculating sum of error squares for all of these possibilities, right? So this method won't be that effective, because if we directly could have taken the distances in consideration, we could have reached the solution earlier.
See, effective in what sense? Effective in what sense? Faster doesn't necessarily mean effective.
Yes, ma'am, but if we take distances in consideration, then
Error
calculating
is a
all of these
distance.
possibilities.
No. In fact, Ward's method is the most efficient method for continuous observations.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
See, you are talking in terms of computation. You feel that computationally it is taking longer time because you have to check all possible configurations and then select the best possible configuration. But something is computationally difficult doesn't mean that the method is bad.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in the example that we have done before for O1, O2, 3, there was simple like 1 0 0 0 and 2 0, right? So here we could easily observe that the first observation O1 and O2 and O2 and O1 and O3 are equidistant from each other. So those two would have any time gotten us the result which we have observed.
Correct. But see, there you could see it because the distances you could compute orally. In fact, that's what you are doing here. See, the error is nothing but a distance. Just that instead of distance between the observations, you are computing distance from the mean.
Yes, ma'am.
Just because you can compute it orally doesn't mean it is better.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we are going to talk about having 25 variate, 30 variate, 100 variate data. Can you really tell me, after looking at a 100 variate data set, which observations are having less distance? I'll give you a 100 variate data set right now. Then, see, it's just another method of reaching the same thing. In fact, Ward's method gives you the most homogeneous clusters. Okay. Because Ward's method is based on the fact that you are supposed to reduce the heterogeneity. The principle of Ward's method is you are trying to create clusters which are more homogeneous. You are trying to put those objects which are more similar to each other, and it automatically turns out to some sort of distance, just that it is in terms of Euclidean distance. It is not in terms of Manhattan distance, etc. So if you compute Euclidean distance and then you use Ward's method, then combination of Euclidean distance and Ward's method is actually the best possible combination to get homogeneous clusters, more homogeneous groups. Okay, so please remember that just because a method seems difficult doesn't mean that it is bad. In fact, most of the times you have to employ difficult methods to get good results. Okay, because returns are always proportional to input. If you input more efforts, you are going to get better results. Okay, so most of the times the methods which seem easy would end up getting you subpar results or suboptimal results, because their easiness is going to cost you. Okay, you are not going to get good results. Most of the times difficult methods are going to give you better results because your output is always proportional to your input. So if you put more efforts, you are going to get better results. That applies even in... Let's stop. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.